So we actually decided a topic for this episode.
I decide many topics. Yes, the topic is simple.
Uh-huh.
I put it to you. Bright lights. I put... Oh, Jesus, that flash in my head. I put it to you. The Big Bang Theory is the pinnacle of nerd TV and represents everything that is perfect with nerd culture and why we're so cool.
Ooh, you sassy bastard.
Rawr.
That was... I put it to you.
That the Coke is fuzzy.
The Coke is fuzzy. That is my counter argument.
It works, I guess. Right.
Yes, it has been a long day.
Geek is now so mainstream and so normal. Yeah, finish the bottle. So mainstream and so normal that Big Bang Theory is the crowning achievement of everything geek has accomplished in the mainstream.
Geek being normal and mainstream essentially invalidates geek in the first place.
How? The mainstream accepts all sorts of people, excluding child molesters and Nazis. Everyone else is welcome.
No,
and animal abusers.
Whoever's cool for that point in that 5 minutes is welcome in the mainstream. Which at this point in time happens to be the geek.
Geek culture is now mainstream. So, Big Bang Theory is the show itself. It is the epitome of all the kinds of geek people and everything that they're into and everything that they like. And it's 100% as real about geek life as it can be.
I put it to you that Big Bang Theory is nothing but a generic American sitcom based on archaic stereotypes of nerddom, trying to capitalize off the fact that geek culture has become the in thing at the moment, yet uses bad stereotypes that we've all been ridiculed for in our childhoods, not actually even genuinely accurate representations.
100%. It's hard to try and be neutral for something you hate. It's on its
Big
11th or
Bang
12th or
Theory.
15th season, and all the cool kids are watching it. And now they're hanging around at the conventions because they're cool because they watch Big Bang Theory. And therefore that can only be good for everyone, because the more women at the cons who have seen one anime and do cosplay, and all the guys who used to stick our heads in toilets at school but who are now wearing an Iron Man t-shirt and going full Brandon. Therefore it's a good thing.
Who literally is wearing an Iron Man t-shirt.
Hence the statement. Therefore that because they're now hanging around with us at these conventions, therefore it is improving our social standing, social status in society, bringing us into the light, as they were, and making us part of the galactic whole. And it means we're accepted now, and now we're cool, and we won't get flushed down lavatories anymore. And we have all that to thank to Big Bang Theory and cosplay people, but we'll do one on cosplayers later. But Big Bang Theory.
Well, I put it through to you that, and this I can tell you from my own personal experience.
Our experiences, yes.
Is that the outcasts will always be the outcasts, the popular kids will always be the popular kids. It's just that at some point randomly about 10 years ago, the popular kids latched on to the things that we've always enjoyed, and now it's become the cliche in thing to do. But we're still the outsiders to them. They're not exactly friends with us, and if they are, they pretend to be and then backstab us when we're not looking.
True. In fact, I've actually moved on. I'm not actually part of those soon in any sense, be it alternative music or geek or anything. Anything that's now cool, I'm no longer into. I'm just sort of doing my own thing.
As I have moved to do.
I've actually personally been going for a lot more period dramas lately. I've become somewhat a Victorian geek. Everything I'm getting.
You're Victorian.
Yeah.
You were Victorian Gothic, now you're Victorian.
I like the fashion, but I like the characters. Dickens and the great works. Emily Bronte and Pride and Prejudice is so boring. Even with zombies, it still doesn't help. But I like Dickensian, I like Poldark, I like the Regency period and all that. Medieval stuff as well. Vikings is a good show, but it's historically inaccurate, but it's, in the essence, it is pure.
Okay.
In fact, I think that could work. Because in Vikings, they don't dress like real Vikings. Their armor's not right, and a lot of the historical stuff's been fucked around. But the essence of being Vikings, the killing, the murdering, chopping up people, rape and pillage, that is in there. So the essence, if you will. So I put it back that Big Bang Theory is the essence of geekdom, and therefore it's cool.
Interesting concept.
And therefore, because it's now the essence that people like, people we've seen over the years, and a person's wife, that sort of person can now look upon these things and feel like they're cool because they watch Big Bang Theory and they get the references.
Yes, so now let's think, how can we counteract this thought?
The only way to counteract it is to actually create an elite geek place where you have to pay fees to join it, and you have to do pop quizzes every month, and if you're not geek enough, you get beat to death with your own
You see,
stack
the
of
problem
comics.
is I detest elitism.
I do too, but at the same time, I realise that there is a natural order to the world. There is a pecking order. There always has been. The fact is, people just tend to peck more when they get something in there, something they grab. Sports people have done it for years. Religious people do it. My fantasy character is better than yours, and therefore I'm going to get better stuff at the end of the day. My sports team is better than your sports team, therefore I can drink more of this or eat more of that or have a better T-shirt.
Which is actually
Humanity.
sadly true.
Humanity is stupid. End of conversation. No matter what.
That's the answer to every debate.
Yeah, stupid people. People are stupid. But
I mean, if you look at Big Bang Theory, they've taken the cliche of what the stereotypical nerd has been perceived. And if you think the generic cliche nerd character in an 80s movie that's getting bullied, they've taken like those stereotypes and built an entire story around ridiculing those stereotypes, but not in a positive way. It's not like you have the characters facing adversity of being a nerd or a geek or socially awkward or however you want to put it. You simply have these characters who are like this, and then you laugh at them for it. And the essence of it is to capitalize on the fact that that subculture is currently very popular, and thus it's very marketable, and you want to make all the monies.
I actually agree, but the Big Bang Theory, the inclusion of culture has allowed people who don't have a clue about the thing to now be involved in the thing. For example, my parents watch Big Bang Theory because it reminds them of us. I, however, look upon Big Bang Theory and go, posers, fuck off, gobshite, everything I
Yeah, the
detest.
same. My mom loves watching Big Bang Theory, and she keeps making references to me when she talks about it, and it's like, I detest Big Bang Theory.
We all...
I was okay with it for a few seasons, but the more it went on, the more it was just like, no, enough
They're
now.
just milking it, yes. But they do that with most things. But yeah, all the cool sci-fi, but also all the geek stuff is now the mainstream stuff.
Yeah. For now, I mean,
Doctor
that'll pass.
Who and all these sorts of things are now all they watch, and everything is on TV is, X-Men movies and all the rest of it. That's all we have is a geek-based culture now for the films and that. And therefore, millions of people are now hanging around at these events, getting a hard on.
I mean,
Even though
it
10,
is,
20 years ago they would have, looked down their nose at us at school.
like I say again, from a financial standpoint, it's good. But because people are essentially milking the fans and the pseudo fans.
That's what Raven does every night. Milks the
Milking the
fan.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, give it another 10 years. something else will be the in thing. Who knows what the fuck at this point.
Hmm.
And all those people who have no self-identity of their own will just huddle across to the next fad, and then they'll be back to looking down on the few of us who are actually here for being not just losers, but now we're losers who are behind the trend.
There is a particular woman, I won't mention names, but we've seen her before, where she went through a hippie phase, and then we saw her at, when there was some gigs happening, and she was then with metal people, and then every few years there's a whole reinvention of that person. And that person's in their 40s now, but they still keep reinventing themselves every few years, because they still don't actually have a clue who or what they are in life. And they'll probably never find it out. They'll probably die one day still confused about who the hell they were.
Yeah. And it's not about being a geek. And like I say, I detest elitism. I'm not proposing the idea that you need to prove your nerd card by quoting some obscure fact that most people aren't going to know anyway, just to prove your worth.
Your nerd card, you'd have to pretty much be a doctorate in all nerdy stuff, because there is so much stuff to geek. There's gamer geek, there's comic geek, there's this geek, that geek. I think it was at the local Geek Fest about 3 years ago. I was watching videos for it afterwards, and one of the YouTube channel people was there, their group. I don't remember the name of them, but they looked the role. They had the Kapow t-shirt, and the woman had funny coloured hair, and they looked like what we would associate as geek. And they were filming her, and she's running around the thing, and she keeps grabbing these cosplayers, and every single character she points out is completely wrong. Look at that Transformer! It's a Blood Raven Space Marine from Warhammer 40k. Oh, you fucking stupid, do you know? Look at that thing over there. It's not one of those, it's one of them. Any fucking person who's seen Star Wars for 5 minutes can tell the difference. It was that thing of every single thing she said was wrong. And I'm sitting there going, but she got the look and the vibe, and yet you have no understanding of any of the stuff that's happening.
But essentially our entire subculture has become a fashion trend. And that's what it is. And then, like I say, in a few years' time, the trend will move on to something new, and all those people who have no actual identity of their own will just shift into the new trend. And
I think it's like all things, fence sitters. Yeah, you got all this shit in the States. Maybe if the world's still here, if Trump hasn't blown it up. But you got all those guys in the South. You know, white power, white power, white power, white power, and they're all about killing black people. Then one of them goes over the road and blows away a whole pile of black people and kills them. And 90% of the guys who are screaming "kill black people" have done a runner. They're fence sitters. They're committed to an extent, but they're not in.
And it's also mob justice. When you've got people around you, you become like boosted. So
I think the actual geek core, if you will, are underground, peculiar. But the majority of people we see at cons are the fence-sitter type. They've watched a few Star Trek movies or whatever the case may be, or they're only... I mean, I've heard people tell me, I met a guy, one of the things, and we're discussing the nerd thing, and he says he considers himself a geek. I said, Star Trek or Star Wars? He said, neither. I said, this video game, and no, it doesn't. Like, what is it you're interested in? Pokemon. And? No, Pokemon. So in my traditional mind, that is not geek. Being an elitist for one concept does not make you geek. If you don't know Star Trek or Star Wars, or you don't have to be a fan, but you must know the existence of such things. To be geek to me means to be open and to taste many flavors, if you will. And the problem is they claim to be a connoisseur, but they only eat one thing. And this the problem is geeks got to the point now where there's so much elitism of I am interested in only one single thing, and therefore I'm superior, and therefore I'm part of this great thing. But the actual people who are part of the thing are flapping backwards and forwards between this thing and that thing because there's so many things to do and touch.
I'll like both agree and disagree with you. So, let me elaborate to not be too confusing there. I think I'm not too against something.
I disagree.
Having the concept of...
Yay, Wookiee actually has some left.
the idea that, okay, like your Pokemon guy, if he likes the Pokemon and he doesn't really know the other stuff, then cool by you, you go fuck out, geek your ass off to the Pokemon. As long as you can, if somebody brings up something else, you can discuss to the best of your ability, even if you don't really know or enjoy. The main thing for me is don't be an elitist asshole about it. Don't be like, I love Pokemon, therefore Pokemon is the greatest thing ever, and anybody who doesn't like Pokemon is clearly fake, idiotic, retarded, blah blah blah. And let's face it, how many people do we know with that attitude?
Most of them. I was about to say, this comes from the man who, is named after a Star Wars character and yet has Star Trek Admiral's badge on his jacket all the time. And has a Lord of the Rings tattoo.
Yes.
I mean, that confuses people, because you can't... Why can you like two things at once?
My thing is, look at me. I grew up on Star Trek and Star Wars.
Yes.
Especially those two. I didn't even know there was a rift in the fan base until I was like in my late teens and I got internet access.
Yes.
I grew up loving both, watching both, because they were sci-fi and I love sci-fi.
Yes.
I grew up reading The Hobbit. The Hobbit was the first book I read by choice. I had it as set work in primary school. Started reading it, never finished it, and actually bought it myself to finish off the story. It was the first book I read purely out of pleasure and not because I had to for school. And that's
actually something I just want to add in. I think that's one of the reasons most people don't read. Because the crap you have to read at school literally kills your love for any enjoyment of reading.
I actually saw a Facebook post the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Some author's son had gotten the author's book as part of their school set work project. So they got their dad, who wrote the book, to help them do the assignment. And the teacher marked it wrong, you didn't understand the work.
Nice.
So, yeah. So that is a whole other story on its
That could be funny, though, when the writer arrives. What do you know, the curtains are purple, that means sexual reference. No, it means they're fucking purple because I don't like blue.
But, again, so obviously my things are, I love sci-fi and I love high fantasy because of this stuff. I briefly watched anime, but never, I didn't hate it, but nothing ever grabbed me.
I like the occasional.
And I still have not watched or read any Harry Potter. Simply because when it came out, it became this massive fad at school and every single person was doing it, and I just could not bring myself to go into the cliche.
Remember one thing in primary school that I didn't have, but most of the other kids, actually every single person in my form had, except me. It wasn't STIs, but people would do. Tamagotchi. Every single person in Standard 5 had a Tamagotchi except me.
Okay, that one I didn't fall into.
I'm a bit older than you, but I didn't go into the fad. Everybody had a Tamagotchi. They were always there on the fucking Tamagotchi. 3 or 4 of them. It's a fad. Within 6 months, all of you people who have spent 300 or 400 rand buying these things, and that was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, you spent a small fortune buying these bloody things, and you'll abandon them in 3 or 4 months.
And I think I'm so used... I did the Tamagotchi fad, and then a few years later I did the spinning tops fad. And the spinning tops was the last fad I was really joined in.
I did the spinning tops, but I did it about 3 years late. I always join these things late.
I used to challenge people for their lunch.
Explains why you're as big as you are.
But once I'd gotten to high school, I'd gotten so used to being an outcast because I never had any friends. The few people I did be sort of friendly with were distant acquaintances that I never saw much of and only talked to briefly. I was very used to being alone and an outsider. Again, typical nerd, geek, whatever. Yes. And then, the Harry Potter thing hit, and every single person in my class was sitting at break reading Harry Potter, and I just could not bring myself to be another drone exactly like all those people, most of whom were treating me like shit and I didn't like. So, as much as that is a thing of nerd culture, it's not one I know. But I don't look down on anybody who does love it because it's something different to me. It's like, if you love the thing, you love the thing. I'm not going to judge you because the thing you love is different to the thing I love.
Yes. Agreed, but at the end of the day, everyone who's not me is an idiot. I'm the only follow me and I will change the world, and I'll kill you all in the process. But don't you find that now, with that, you didn't do Harry Potter, and they did Harry Potter, but now don't you find, thanks to Big Bang Theory, that those people who did Harry Potter are now more open to your very existence, and now want to be friends?
No.
Ah.
They want to hang around me and then judge me for not knowing the thing they know.
I see that one as well, actually. This is the most serious discussion we've had. This is
one that actually hits home with us.
Yeah,
we've actually been through
also,
these
I think
experiences.
we've finished all the booze, so we're now so... And
we're actually thinking...
by the Masquerade, that we've finished our first ever series properly.
Yeah,
Normally we just abandoned them and forget to put a finale.
It's like a thing you and I have discussed before more than once, is the way everybody loves to get into cliques.
Especially in this country. It's spoken to a lot overseas, and there's a few such cliques there, but the majority of people seem to just be going with the flow. Whereas over here, the minority of the guys going with the flow, the majority are cliques. Everything's... The amount of crap that goes from a nerd thing here to your personal life, to the point where people are sitting at their office using Photoshop to try and create memes and things to badmouth you in your professional career. That's how extreme these little cliques over here go.
And
the
it's
point
over
where people end up getting sued.
Little things.
Yeah, and well, they normally are by the time they've been sued.
But like you say, a friend of mine, again, I won't go into names while we're recording, but a friend of mine who had been...
Bob! It's Barry! It's always Barry! Because it's part of the Legion of Andy.
Who'd been overseas, like, you know, a while ago, before I'd met them, so like pre-2009.
Ah.
Or just after, but somewhere like, you know, at least...
You know that's nearly 10 years ago now, 2009.
Yeah, I know.
We're so old!
Right. But this is someone who is not really alternative-y.
Okay.
Kind of, but not really.
Fence sitter.
Not fence sitter, just has lots of friends in the scene, so spends a lot of time in it without actually being a member of it.
Oh.
Like, it doesn't have the look, would I say. You know, we'll go to a gig, but won't be wearing black leather corset with Doc Marten boots.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You know, that's,
not stereotype, technically, or one of the included.
Went to the UK.
Thin blood.
Went to a Slipknot concert, or probably a festival where Slipknot was playing, dressed in a like bright pink polka dot dress, but had these hardcore black metalhead Germans say, "Hey, come party with us."
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, if they had here, it would have been a whole bunch of people saying, "You fucking poser, you're not part of the scene, what you doing here?"
Yeah.
And the need, like 10 years ago it was the alternative scene, now it's the geek scene that's doing this type of crap. It's like, I love this anime, I love a different anime, you're not real geek. If you love something passionately and that deeply, then you're a geek. If you're a different geek to the other geek, you're both geeks, just in different ways. Get over your bullshits.
I geek out to an extent. Because I don't even know what... I'm sure it is. It's an Americanism, geek out. I don't like actually being called geek because it's such an American term now.
I've always said nerd because it's habit for me.
Yeah, nerd for one, but... I don't know, individual. I am my own nut job. But... where was I going with this statement? I completely lost the plot.
That sounds more like us.
That's definitely us. But, yeah, like you said, that these people tend to grab a thing, but they become extreme on it. I mean, I know some stuff, and I don't know other stuff about stuff. That makes all the sense in the world. Jesus, we've been away too long. I'm no longer actually making coherent sentences. Essentially, I know about Star Wars or Star Trek, and I can one-up on Raven in Star Wars, Star Trek knowledge. There's a couple of things I've thrown at him over the years that he didn't know. Yeah. But I know that you will outdo me on that. But there are some people there who know, when Captain Kirk wipes his arse every night. That kind of extreme fanaticism, which is the same sort of crap these fucking nutjobs who blow themselves up or scream crusade and kill everyone who's different. It's pushed to
Everything
that
to
extreme.
fanaticism is bad.
Yeah, they get far too fanatical about a thing.
That's
I enjoy Star Wars and Star Trek and many other things, but for God's sake, half the time I forget what's going on. I know names and characters, and I know bits and pieces of some episodes. Well, I probably know more than your average person, but a lot of stuff I haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that fanatical. I don't actually know how warp cores work. I didn't bother trying to study it.
But, and to bring back a little bit to our theme, you love watching Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any kind of doctorate degrees in engineering, science,
No,
whatever.
I'm a writer.
You could
Surprisingly, I can't speak, but...
you couldn't hack any major computer system beyond basic stuff.
Not even that. I mean, the hacking in Bloodlines is the pinnacle as far as I've ever gotten. And if in real hacking, I believe you don't press Control-C and it automatically happens.
Control-C actually means cancel what you were doing.
You see, that would be completely me going cancel. Fuck that.
If you're running a script or whatever, you use Control-C to stop it, which is kind of funny. But yeah.
Oh god, that'd be me done.
But
in the wild.
you have no problem going to a room full of people and mingling.
No.
So, as much as you know the knowledge that the characters in Big Bang Theory have, you have no personality trait whatsoever in common with them.
Very, very true, actually.
I have the one where I'm not good at talking to people, but even I don't have
You don't
it
need
to the
copious
degree
amounts
that
of
they
alcohol. Yeah, you do, not like the Indian guy. He needs copious amounts of alcohol just to speak to a woman.
do. Yeah.
You can speak to a woman without the booze. It just makes it more entertaining when you are drunk.
And also, the women who talk to me aren't just my neighbor because she needs her computer fixed.
Mm.
You know, some of the women who talk to me have genuinely actually been talking to me.
Yes.
And again, it's like the show plays completely off of negative stereotypes just to make fun of us for comedy.
Yeah. That I would actually agree with. It perpetuates the negative stereotype that we're all sad, sad people that don't know what girls are. Oh God. But, so yes, Big Bang Theory. Has it improved a lot of geeks, or has it just made...
It's made a bunch of people who weren't really geeks run around screaming, "I'm a geek, I'm cool." At best, the positive benefit out of it is some comic book shops have increased their sales ratios.
On the television show, people have increased their sales.
But Hollywood is Hollywood. They'll always find a way to make money.
Yeah, that's why they keep rebooting everything. And making bad sequels.
I mean, we're on like our 50th Spider-Man.
Oh, God, another one. Oh,
And they get younger every iteration.
I gave up on Tobey Maguire, for God's sake. That was... But I never liked comic books, so it was never my thing.
But you're sort of familiar with Spider-Man, right?
Of course I am.
In the Captain America Civil War was the first time Spider-Man was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh.
So obviously it itself was a reboot. They made a deal with Sony that Sony let them the rights to use a Spider-Man, and then Sony will revert the rights for all the standalone movies.
Oh.
But they've now de-aged everybody so much. Aunt May was a MILF. She had long brown hair
Oh, no.
and was 40 at best.
Hollywood has a fear of aging and old people. Hence why, all the generals and stuff in the new Star Wars were all about 10.
That's the one thing that annoyed me in the new Star Wars.
They weren't generally.
They were like kids.
General Hux is a year older than me. Raven is older than most of the new Empire's military forces.
Yeah.
Adele is older than the First Order. Adele is older than the whole of the First Order, apart from, I think, Snoke, who is everyone. When they finally reveal who Snoke is, people's heads will explode. Turns out it's BB-8 or something. I'll be done.
I'm just gonna go on a limb here and say Snork's gonna end up being Snork.
Yeah, completely different person. It's like, no, I was just...
You know who the latest one is for Snork? Windu.
But Windu was a black man. Snoke's a funny-looking white guy. He's Gollum. But yeah, thank you for. Yeah, I'm scared now. Geek is dead.
You know what I would love to do just to fuck with everybody?
Cliffhanger.